Minerva Type K 40 horsepower limousine Torpedo Transformable 1907. The early days of the Minerva story are recounted in the praise for this collection. As the tale tells, by the time the company built the car on offer here, they had a strong following of clientele in the UK and further afield. They were renowned for their reliability and were developing competition aspirations, having seen Charles Rolls field a pair of 20 horsepower 4-cylinder cars at the 1905 Tourist Trophy. Following that, in 1906, when Minerva production reached 600 cars and 3,000 motorcycles and engines and a 4-story building was added to the Antwerp factory, standard production Minervas took second place in the team prize in the Coupe de l'Edekerk and won their class in the Circuit Touriste de la Semaine d'Ostende, among other successes. It was in this era that six-cylinderism became more common as companies vied for the upper echelons of the market, where clientele were said to prefer quiet, smoothly operating cars, which balancing capacity over more cylinders achieved. Unity of contemporary marketing for a number of brands shows that while they would list a 6-cylinder model, they would less frequently illustrate a built car, and it seems likely that they were often an on-request model. Minerva was already firmly set on that sector of the market, and so it was logical that they should offer such a car. Theirs followed form of their T-head 4s with an extra cast pair on a common crankcase. This increased engine capacity to 6,235 cc and performance to approximately 40 horsepower, a rating which would long be associated with the marque. This majestic automobile is one of the highlights of Mr. van der Stappen's collection, a remarkable behemoth from the first decade of the 20th century. It is the one of only 2 examples of the early large horsepower Minerva that is known to have perpetuated to this day, and represents the watershed point for the company before they moved to sleeve valve production the following year. As noted on file, according to its former owner and also the granddaughter of the original purchaser, it is understood that the car was originally exhibited for sale here at the Grand Palais at the Salon de l'Automobile in late 1907. Her grandfather Joseph Fulchiron, a 29-year-old wealthy industrialist, who had lost his father at a very early age and gone on to develop the family business into a highly successful venture, attended that year's show with his driver and a friend from Street Etienne with the intent of buying a Rolls-Royce. This would have been early days for their single model policy, and apparently orders for a new 6-cylinder 40/50 horsepower, later dubbed the Silver Ghost model, were so numerous that the wait list was for more than a year. A frustrated Mr. Fulchiron is said to have spun on his heels at this news, only to be confronted with the Minerva here. In looks and specification it was very similar, and so he stepped onto the Minerva stand. In a moment that would have been a salesman's dream, the Rolls-Royce agent's loss was turned to their gain, and a deal was immediately struck on this car. The price of his purchase is not recorded, however it can be assumed that it would have been a considerable sum of money, as not only was this one of the most luxurious chassis offerings of its day, but it was also bodied with one of the most complicated and expensive styles of coachwork. Quite fashionable in this era of coachwork, particularly on luxury automobiles, was the concept of a body that would be equally practical in all seasons and scenarios, and the solution provided by a number of carrossers was for the top half of the coachwork to be fully detachable. While this might seem incredibly complicated today, in an age when owners of these conveyances had motor houses and chauffeurs as well as staff, many were set up with winches so that the top of the body could be hooked and raised from the car where it might rest through the summer months. Today, there are so few cars with this type of body that the concept has been forgotten, but of course its successor was the hardtop. For this reason, the coachwork was upholstered entirely in leather, as the rear compartment would not have the seclusion of a normal limousine. Mrs. Fulchiron recounts that within the year Mr. Fulchiron was married, so it is quite possible that the Minerva would have been part of the ceremony, but sadly there are no images or records of this. The driver would parlay how it was used for tasks ranging from picking water up from Vichy and on holidays to Biarritz. But with the outbreak of war in 1914 its use ceased, and it was carefully laid up in a garage on their property at Rue des Trois Mules, Street Etienne. The magical moment of acquisition clearly remained legend within their generations, and long after its practical use had passed the Minerva was so cherished that it was kept. In fact, it would be a lengthy slumber, resting there more than 50 years until 21st of May 1966. That was the day that Jacques Lefranc, collector and owner of the Mused Automobiles du Forez at Souris-Locumtul, negotiated its purchase. 59 years of ownership gave way to another lengthy custody, Mr. Lefranc in turn retaining the car until his museum closed in 1981, when it was purchased by Maurice Marx of Saint-Zachary, who would keep it until 1995. At this point, through dealers François Frankie Dumontant and Bruno Vindius, the Minerva was negotiated straight to its third owner, Jacques van der Stappen. If one traces its history backwards today, it would appear that the stand that M. Fulchiron approached at the Grand Palais was for Minerva agent Salvin and Etchelandre, for the car wears boldly engraved kicker plates confirming that they were the suppliers of the car. A particularly appealing detail of the car, and testament to its overall originality, is the fact that its side lamps are also branded by this same agency and so must have been with it from new. It is a car with incredible presence, and its condition and design are so fascinating that each time it is viewed new details rewards the eye. More than just its condition is the fact that it is one of very few cars that, in 2017, just prior to Jacques van der Stappen passing, and organized by Bruno Vindius, he kindly invited Odile Fulchiron, granddaughter of the car's original owner, to visit the car once more. It was a touching reunion, in which she recalled being allowed to play in the rear compartment of the car for brief periods as a child. Madame Fulchiron naturally was able to confirm that it remains today in the same remarkably unmolested order that it has always. This magnificent automobile is both a statement of its period and its preservation. With Mr. van der Stappen's passing, it comes to the market publicly for the first time in its 111-year lifespan. Its application could well be as it was when new for touring in summer or winter climates with its full convertible coachwork, or indeed owing to its condition it would make a strong exhibit for any preservation class at concours level around the world.